All right, everybody, welcome to the Sarcasm Liberty live stream. This is a new one that I want to do. It's the mental health live stream. So the whole point of this live stream is to kind of keep it on a focus of mental health topics. Now, I really want to make this a weekly live stream as long as everybody seems to enjoy it or have a good time with it, or we get enough people paying attention. Whether it is going to be on, sorry, I'm having a problem with my charger here. Whether it's going to be a weekly stream or not, I'm not entirely sure yet. It depends. I might make it like just a, every other week kind of thing. We'll see. Then, like what I would like to do is definitely make it like a regular thing where it happens more than just this one time. You know what? I'm having a hard time with this charger and I'm about to throw it out the fucking window. It keeps my phone keeps uncharging as I'm trying to put out the whole URL to the live stream. So, and it's about to die because I'm a dumbass. I'm like, oh no. I had some family over. That's why we're running a little late tonight. I had some family over and I was like, I'm not going to make it at 9. Okay, it's not like blood family. It's probably my absolute closest friend in the world. I call him my brother. My friends call him uncle. My kids call him uncle. He's family to me. And I was helping watching some of his kids today. He had to take his girls to a dance competition, so I watched his boys today, and then afterwards I came over and hung out for a while. And he's my best friend in the whole world, and then so I honestly consider him family. So I always say family. But yeah, he was trying to get out of here. He knew I had something going on by 9, but I had some other stuff I was trying to it wasn't just getting him leaving, it was getting my kids upstairs, and that took a while, just being like, hey kids, go upstairs and get ready for bed. If you have kids, it's not as simple go upstairs and get ready for bed. It's a whole fucking task. But yeah, no, so that's what happened there. I need 1 second so I can put out the tweet for the whole live stream. But yeah, no, what I do want to do for this stream is make it just kind of a general discussion about mental health stuff in general. What I would like to do in future streams is to get more of a focus, and that really depends on who I can get on the panel and who suggests what for the hold on, I can't hear you very well. Somebody was fiddling with my microphone today, and okay, what were you saying?
Oh no, what's what Lonnie said in the group that he will coming soon.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he'll be able to make it tonight or not, but I know he definitely wants to try to come.
Oh, he just said it in the group thing that you.
Oh, awesome! Nice, that would be great. Yeah, I just got the notification for that. Awesome, that would be great. Yeah, I know he said on the Tuesday stream he said he wanted to make it. So
yeah. Eve said it either, but she had a birthday.
Yeah, she had a birthday or something. So hopefully she'll be able to make it on some future streams. I have some good people. Brandy and Maggie said there's some people. They said they at least wanted to watch the stream and hear it. So
I mentioned it twice in the Hapa Supremacy live stream.
Oh, nice. When was that?
Like an hour ago it started.
Oh, really? No, I was so busy today. I haven't been on YouTube, so I honestly didn't catch their stream, which I feel bad about because I love
only 50 minutes.
Yeah, I love Nico and Shane, so I try to catch their streams as often as I can, but sometimes I don't catch them live, and I have to go back and watch it after the fact.
I'm not a big fan of watching live streams afterwards. I don't know what it is.
No, and I understand, and I feel like part of it is because you can't actually interact. Somebody will say something and you want to input, but you can't because it's already done. So I get that, but I do like to I mean, I love Shane and Nico to death, so that's something I always try to go back and watch. I will be honest, there's a lot of people who do live streams I don't always go back and watch after the fact, if I miss it. But I try to catch, like, Chairview does some great streams. I love his streams.
I was on it yesterday.
Yeah, whenever he has me on, I always have just an absolute blast. I think there was only one stream where I was like distracted enough, and I just stayed on for like a short period of time. But you know, like
a lot of the other people on it as well.
Yeah, he has a lot of people. I think it was a very like conversation heavy one, and I just like it was a topic I like just didn't have a lot of invested in.
More like
yeah.
But I mean, on
2 of his streams, we've hit the whole 4-hour mark, and it didn't even occur to me that it had been 4 hours. I was just like, holy shit! The first 4-hour stream I ever did was on Chairview. But Chairview's great. I love him. He does some good streams, and it's not always politics. Sometimes it's just random shit, you know. That's what I like. That's what I'd like to do. What some of the streams are is like have some politics conversations, and then just open it up to just random like shit going on. Especially if it's just current events. It doesn't have to be politics. One thing I do want to make, because the formula I try to get is 2 politics topics and then a current events topic. You know. Sometimes the politics stuff just kind of overwhelms everything, and then we incorporate current events into it. Excuse me, but it just depends on everything, dude.
No, he does now some debate things sometimes.
Yeah, and debates are always fun. I have a hard time with
the channel.
Yeah, I have a hard time doing debates because I can't get anybody to actually agree to come on the channel.
That was not really debate, but it was between 2 friends, and it was about the AI, if that is really alive. But the other one never really started on it, so it was a debate of nothing. But the chat was more debate than the actual live stream. That was more fun.
Yeah. Chats are always fun. I like trying to keep an eye. And just for anybody, if you're watching now, I'm not keeping an eye on the chat yet. I'm trying to like put out the whole thing. I will get to the chat in a second. But sorry, I've just been having like a ridiculous fucking discussion, like, and I don't want to go into it now because it's politics.
Yeah, I saw it.
You saw it. You know what I'm talking about. I don't want to go into it tonight because I feel like it's something for a whole nother day. I do feel like most of the debate is more coming down to misunderstanding and emotions than actual disagreement. So, and I hope that's all it is, because the person I'm having a disagreement with, I highly respect as a person.
I did the same thing, and I didn't have that much fight against it. So,
I mean, like she was pretty.
Maybe it was the wording, what was a bit not going off very well.
Yeah. And it could just be, I tried to be very clear, but hey, she hasn't unfollowed me like some people do when I have a debate with them. So, you know, I still respect her for that. She's not like, she's been a little hostile, but I do feel like it's more she's coming from an emotional place. She's also arguing from a place that at least it's not like some. She's arguing. Then I don't want to go into specifics, but to say in her credit. She is arguing from a position that I cannot.
Is not coming on tonight. He smoked something and some baseball things.
But it's just she's arguing from a position that I can't actually relate to. I can only argue from like an outside, so I can't specifically relate to her experience on her position. So like I have to give her that credit.
But she was not that emotional. I have seen people.
She was. I mean, like most of her arguments.
I've seen some be far more emotional.
Yeah, but I mean, most of her, it was like, you know, I would make an argument and would come back with like, well, you think this, and be like, okay, you're. I feel like you're arguing against me, like I'm somebody else you've argued with in the past, and you're kind of assuming just because I disagree with you, you think I'm thinking certain ways, which I'm not. So I think she was having some.
It was a bit of both ways. I feel like that was more a bit both. Both were a bit talking slightly next to each other.
Yeah. All right. Let me tag a couple people that said they want me to make sure they were on this, or at least being able to watch the stream. And then I'm going to make sure I have the chat open so I don't miss anything. And then okay. So yeah, I guess Lonnie said he was going to try to make it. Hopefully, some other people from our SNL community try to make it. But
some of them are not that on very much.
Yeah.
But if they wanted to.
Yeah, and I've been pretty open about when it's happening. So some people might make it, some people might not. I do have the chat now, so open now. So our viewers, if you want to have any input, you are more than welcome to now. I will. Anybody who has anything to say, I always try to make sure I incorporate it into the. Are you eating something?
Just open the bag.
Okay, but yeah, I always try to make sure I keep the chat involved in the stream. So I do want to open up by saying a couple things just to explain from who I am. I myself, I deal with generalized anxiety disorder. I deal with some pretty critical depression stuff, and then PTSD. So that's me as a person. Now, what I also do that some people don't know is I did run at one point. I was an admin for it. It was an online support community, and there were 3,000 members or something. It was over 3,000. It was ridiculous. And then they brought me on as an admin because I was constantly talking to people so much that they felt like I could help, regulate the chat. And then all the other admins left at one point, and I was just like, I cannot run this 3,000 plus group because people were messaging me all the time. Because people would be like, I don't like what this person said. They shouldn't be allowed in the chat. And I'd be like, oh, come on, simmer down. But I always had some pretty basic rules. And when I started my own group, which I still regulate, my rules have always been pretty simple. Because a lot of people, when it comes to religion, religion can be a polarizing topic. But for a lot of people, religion is their coping mechanism. So my thing has always been, in every group I've ever run, is it is perfectly fine to talk about how it helps you or anything like that. The only rule I ever have is that you cannot tell somebody what they should or should not believe. So discuss your religion, that's fine. If you don't like somebody doing religion, you just ignore it and you go on. But you don't tell them what you believe is stupid, or don't tell somebody who isn't religious that they need to be religious in order to feel better. Don't force your personal views on somebody else because that's anxiety inducing. And it's just shitty to do, to be honest. But I've had people that quit the group angrily because they're like, well, you need to go to church. And I was like, okay, well, they don't believe in God. Telling them to go to church isn't going to fix anything for them. It's fine if you're religious. I have my own religious beliefs. I don't really, I don't speak about them often because I don't feel like it ever really, there's very few situations that warrant it. And typically the only times I really speak religious stuff is if I'm talking to personal friends or family.
No, that's usually what me was either more debate and trying to understand things. And I was never okay. I was even always a big fan of mythology and shit like that. But you don't hear much from most Christians. They rather ignore that shit. They say, oh, that's all bullshit, this. I'm like, no, I want to know.
A lot of people get like that. And religion is a polarizing topic.
I have a lot of those discussions with a lot of Christian people. But what they're saying is that sounds complete bullshit, and they never like that when I say that. I can make a lot of enemies in the church that I went to.
I feel in general though, when it comes to religion is a fine debate to have. It's a fine discussion topic you can have. A lot of good can come from it. As long as you're being civil about it. I feel a healthy civil debate is good for the soul. If you're not attacking the person or assuming their beliefs.
It's funny. I was Christian, but I was not a right wing. I was left wing. But it was very unusual. And when I became less religious, I became more right wing. That is.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of people I've known that are really religious but remain left wing. No, I grew up in a very conservative household, so I was very like, and you know, it was a like we went to church twice on Sundays and once on Wednesdays, so 3 times a fucking week.
Wow.
I was going to church. Yeah,
No,
that
but I
was
went
my
only once a
entire childhood up until I was 18 and moved out.
Unless it was a special thing like Christmas and shit like that, then we sometimes went an extra time.
Oh,
But
there was extra times. There was like during the summer, they would have these. They would call them revivals, and it would be a week long affair.
was it in Catholic church or something, or what type of church was it?
No, it was a Baptist church.
That's funny. That is the thing that the mother went to.
Baptists get a bad rep, and I feel like Baptists get a bad rep because Baptists have a very loose doctrine. There's two very specific things for Baptists, and one is baptizing is one of them. Then it has to be a full submersion baptismal thing.
You have to do it as an adult.
But the thing about Baptists that differ them from like Lutherans and Catholics is you don't get baptized. Baptism isn't a necessity; it is a testament, you know, kind of thing. And you don't get baptized until like you've been saved. And that's the whole thing. It's like you don't do it until then. You don't. It's not a requirement.
When you want to.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like the thing I've always maintained.
I kind of agree with it. I kind of agree with it because I grew up with it. But
yeah, no, like my wife's parent, like mom, wanted my daughter to get baptized because her mom grew up Lutheran, and I was like, no, I'm not okay with this. She can get baptized when she gets to make that decision for herself. Excuse me, I'm all like belchy tonight.
I still say if parents want to, sure, it's their decision.
It's up to the parents, to be honest. It's just my personal opinion. I'm not bashing anybody who does that for their kids. I don't really want to bash other people's religion.
I'd say either with the church I went to, they were not very keen on parents who were divorced. Especially those kids get very low in the totem pole.
Well,
if you stuff like autism, ADHD, or shit like that, you get more pissed on because they don't like people who are troublemakers.
Here's something funny because I grew up in a very Baptist church and things like divorce was frowned upon, and there are so many couples, like married couples, I grew up in the church with that later in life I found out got divorced. I was like, oh, that wasn't like super,
but
like
one thing that's funny. I remember an old friend of mine whose father died, so it's technically still a divorce, according to them. But then when he got remarried, like he was in a pissing thing. But when he got his mother got remarried, Abel got more praise than before. That's either completely retarded.
And then
that means someone like me. And that will get a lot of shit on because of shit, because I have autism, ADHD, and shit like that.
Yeah.
But one thing, the church was in a school, in high school, so there were even classes with the chemical stuff, and the teachers left the door open. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna pay attention to the fucking kids there because nobody else does it. What the fuck do I get? I get shat on. Because I pay him to get,
and that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous too.
Because I was paying attention.
My daughter, I send her to a Lutheran private school, and it's just because we talked to them, and it felt like the most that I would be okay with kind of thing. And she grows up learning stuff about like Jesus and stuff like that, and I'm fine with that. It's okay. She gets to make her own decisions later in life. To like based on whether she wants to do this or not. Something from the chat that Mike brought up, and he says he's non-denominational now, and he doesn't see the point in denominations. And then hashtag I do what I want, and I feel like that's how most religious people should be. That's how I am now. I grew up very Baptist, but I don't feel I retain some of the Baptist stuff, like the baptismal thing, that it's a personal choice. But I do feel like I don't mind sending my daughter to a Lutheran school because I'm not like, well, they're Lutherans. That's not what I grew up with, and that's not what I believe. Because I'm just like, she's smart enough. She can be told certain
things. She's smarter than most adults I've seen.
Yeah. Honestly, she is. To be honest, from the arguments I've had on Twitter, my daughter's smarter than a lot of adults. But no, I mean, and I think that's the whole thing. It comes down to personal choice, and that's what it really needs to be stressed a lot. Is like there's too much emphasis on denominations too. Like I've only been to a Lutheran church once, and it was when I was in the army, and it was weird as fuck to me because like everybody like
I don't know if I've been to one. I've
well,
only
like the
other
preacher
church
would
I
say something.
remember was basically called the Road, but it was not
No,
a different from Baptist
for
church.
me, I went.
And the church of my grandmother, but that was more like a very
Yeah,
strict religious
no,
one.
I grew up in a Baptist church,
And the
but
bullshit that has been pronounced there, I was like, I almost when I was there, I almost wanted to walk up to the guy like,
yeah.
you are speaking bullshit.
Well,
But
for
I
me,
didn't do it because
I grew up in a
was
Baptist
respectful.
church. The only time I've ever been to a Lutheran church was during basic training in the army. And if you want to know the reason of why would I randomly decide to go to a Lutheran church when they would have provided a denomination that was closer to my believing, and you're going to laugh when I tell you this, it was because the Lutheran church gave cookies away. So I was in basic training and I'm like, hey, I want some fucking cookies.
Wait,
so I went to the Lutheran service. But here's the thing. It was weird to me. Like they were like everybody went up to take communion. The people would like chant things back when the like preacher or priest or whatever would say specific things. It was very bizarre to me. My wife, who grew up Lutheran, came to a Baptist church with me, and she thought it was really weird that people would like shout out things like "Amen" and stuff like that in the middle of the service. And she was like, "Isn't that disruptive?"
That was more they didn't call it something church. It's more in community what they call themselves, and they were more connected to the Jewish roots.
Well, and that's just the thing.
More like amen this, amen that.
But that's just the thing, though. Like denominations can be so different, and a lot of the differences just can be very minute. But to bring it back around, because I do not want to start off our like mental health debate going in too much into religion. But that's what I always say to people: like, it's fine to discuss religion. It's just fine to discuss your lack of religion. Just don't tell people what they should or should not believe in a mental health setting. As long as you are adhering to that, if you don't like hearing religion, just tune it out. Don't discuss it. Don't talk about it. Don't think about it. If you don't like hearing somebody being an atheist, don't talk about it. Don't think about it. Don't dwell on it. But don't tell somebody you need to go to church or you shouldn't go to church, kind of stuff. That's the things. And then like my same thing, it was like for politics, I just always had a like, do not do politics thing, because politics are even worse than religion, to be honest, in my opinion, where people like just die, like, you know, like it becomes so polarizing whatever you believe. And I'm always just like, there's no good mental health discussion you can have where you can drag in politics and it turns out well. So for me, just to get back to what I was saying in the beginning, you know, I ran like, you know, it was like a 3,000 group, and eventually I had to pull in some other admins and be like, I need to take a step back, because like I had people messaging me like constantly. Hold on. I had people messaging me constantly, like every day, like I need help with this and I need help with this. And after a while, it became too much for me, because I was like, you got to remember, I'm here because I have anxiety myself. You know, like I have my own problems. I cannot constantly, I am not a therapist. I can't deal with everybody's problems. I tried to as much as I could, but I had to draw a line somewhere. I still maintain my own online support community called Creativity versus Anxiety, which focuses on using creativity, which is something I want to do for a full stream sometime, for the mental health stream. Talking about using creativity as a way to combat anxiety and depression and PTSD and things like that. And now something I've been doing for about, it's been over a year now. I help facilitate a veteran support group every Wednesday. You know, every Wednesday that people come, we talk about stuff, and I'm like one of the people that runs it. It's like typically just me and one other guy right now. But yeah, so like, you know, for me, like,
it works again.
Oh, you're back. Okay. But yeah, no, like what I was saying, like for me, when I go into this discussion of mental health, and I wanted people to understand this isn't, I'm not just some random guy. I'm somebody who deals with my own mental health stuff. I'm also people who has ran support groups and facilitated support groups to help people with mental health stuff. So I'm not just some random dude. Now, something she's not going to be able to tonight, but she said she would try to come on in future streams. My wife is a mental health specialist. She's a marriage and family therapist. That's what her master's is in. She has a bachelor's in psychology and philosophy. And, you know, that's her whole thing, you know, like she works, she goes, she has clients, you know, she sees families, she sees couples and things like that. You know, she's a marriage and family therapist. She finally graduated in like December. So she's only been like doing this as an actual job for a few months now. But since she was 18, this has been her career path. You know, she went to college and she's been doing this for a long time. So she has agreed to sometimes come on and help discuss some of this kind of stuff. I hear some interesting stories from her all the time too. It's just about some crazy things. You know, and she knows what I go through, and she's been there with me through all of my worst times. You know, she's been right there by my side. And you know, she's a very smart person when it comes to this kind of stuff. Like, here's the thing: I didn't have to. I volunteered to, because part of what I do with my whole writing thing is editing. I would proofread a lot of her papers in college, you know, and I would read through them. And sometimes I was just reading through for like just looking for spelling errors, but sometimes I would try to like actually understand what she's saying. You know, she's a smart person, you know, she understands this stuff. And then when I hear things like, you know, like she's having a hard time connecting with a kid, and she brings in like a game or something and plays a game with the person, with this kid, and like is able to connect with them better. Or she had these people who were like very like kind of nerdy and geeky, and she told them to like kind of sum up their problems as like a villain kind of thing, and then sum up their like pros as like a superhero. And then they actually like went and drew these up, you know, as characters, as actual characters. You know, she does some really clever things that I just like when I hear about like her work, I'm just always amazed. And I'm like, God, I wish I had like an actual therapist that was as clever as you. You know, like I not to be mean to the therapist I see now, she's great, but the VA doesn't train people to think for themselves, so that's kind of a whole issue there. But you know, like what I want to stress for people who do watch these streams is, you know, I'm not just some random person. Like I go through my own struggles, and I've helped many people deal with their struggles. You know, it's me doing these streams, and the entire reason I wanted to do these is because I do feel like mental health is a topic that's not discussed quite enough, or necessarily in the proper light. There is a stigma that comes with a lot of mental health stuff these days. As a veteran that deals with like PTSD and depression, you know, people typically think that I'm a violent person if they hear the word PTSD and veteran. And that's not true. Most veterans are not like that. It's the PTSD. If nothing else, it makes you more kind of withdrawn. The only time you probably become aggressive is if you feel like you might be in danger in some way. So yeah, and that's just something I like, you know, like I've dealt with a lot in my life. There's a lot of misunderstandings when it comes to mental health stuff, you know. There's a lot of misunderstanding about what PTSD is, because you have people who think PTSD only applies to veterans. PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder. So it is, you know, a traumatic experience. So it could be like a rape, it could be a car accident, it could be a mugging you went through. It could be a lot of stuff, you know. It doesn't have to specifically to do with war. And then from the other side of the misunderstanding of PTSD, you know, PTSD is not having somebody say mean things to you on the internet, like some SJWs and feminists would have you believe.
Mhm.
You know, like there's a lot of misunderstanding that people see PTSD, and now it's either like, you know, there's a lot of negative
No,
attitude
they
towards it.
overuse the word trigger, what is fucking
Yeah,
absurd as
people
well.
overuse it because it's either like people who they assume there's bad things about you because you have PTSD, or they assume you're like attention grabbing because of like feminists and SJWs overusing PTSD because somebody said something mean to them on the internet. That's not a traumatic experience. If that's traumatic for you, you have the most fragile personality I've ever seen in my life.
No, but there was even someone who's like, "Oh, I got in the shower, I got triggered, I washed myself, I got triggered." So it was like describing everything triggered him. Like,
no. Like, here's the thing, and
how can you still live? You wouldn't already kill yourself by this point. If
this is what kills me about it is for people with PTSD, triggers are a legitimate thing. There are things that will trigger you. For somebody who has been through war, for example, and these are people I've talked to and that have dealt with this. You know, a loud bang can be very triggering for you. It sends you back into that like hyper vigilance of like, oh my God, I'm about to be shot kind of thing, or like my life is in danger. You know, like it can send you straight back to where you were. You know, so there's real legitimate like triggers for people. And for some people, I mean, like for me, like seriously, for the longest time, and I've discussed this on previous streams, when I came back from overseas, somebody getting like just slightly too close to me when I was driving, like behind me, sent me into like panic mode of like, oh my God, my life is in danger, because that's how I was trained to think over there. Somebody trailing you.
Person that
and it's just
it come back. That stuff would have been 10 times worse.
Yeah, and it's like actual triggers are a legitimate thing, but we've gotten to the point where there are trigger warnings for everything. Of like, we're going to discuss
trigger warning.
Well, it's like we're going to say a word, trigger warning. I'm like, no, sorry, fucking no. No veteran, no legitimate person with PTSD I've ever talked to flips out because they hear a word. It's like situations. It's things that takes you back to your traumatic experience. You know, like part of the thing for me, like I dealt with some things that dealt with like trucks and stuff. So I had a hard time being around big trucks for a while. You know, but it's just insane. Like, because people are like, well, I heard like the N word, or I heard like people, for fuck's sake, I had people using the R word, saying the R word for retarded.
Make a joke for them, make you hate reality, and they were so bananas. I made a joke.
Yeah, it's just
like and they're like, oh, you haven't put pinned tweets about it's a retweet from Blast, so they never elaborate what the fuck.
I get some crazy stuff all the time.
Nothing.
Lonnie, I wanted to hear what you had to say. And welcome to the stream, by the way.
Oh, thanks. No, I was just gonna say my brother, he's a combat veteran, and he has PTSD.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know all of his triggers or whatever, but I know that there's certain things like, you know, he still, you know, he likes guns, he likes to go shooting, but he knows the sound of an AK-47.
Yeah.
And he cannot hear it.
Yep.
You know,
and that's something.
Literally any other gun. But you know, so that's one. Like how you mentioned people being too close. I know that it was weird. Like for me, you know, he came back, and first thing I wanted to do whenever I saw him was give him a big hug, and I couldn't.
Yep.
And you know, that's one thing that showed me that how real legitimate PTSD is. And you know, it's just like, it's almost insulting to people that have real PTSD from either combat or, you know, some other traumatic experience like a rape or something, that someone can just be like, oh, you know, I felt, you know, because, you know, someone, you know, they called me a name or something like that, and it's just like, like, no,
it's insulting.
That's not the same thing at all.
Okay, like
that's like me with bipolar disorder. You know, I'll tell people, oh yeah, I can just snap like that.
Yeah.
No, that's not bipolar disorder. You know, and it's like, don't try to, you know, you don't have to be like me.
Yeah.
You don't have to fit in.
I think what you're saying right now is an excellent point, because I do feel like when you talk about mental health stuff, immediately people feel like they have to be on a relatable level with you. When I talk about anxiety, people are like, "Oh yeah, I feel anxious too." I'm like, "Yeah, you don't understand. For me, like, it's every little tiny thing in my life makes me anxious to an insane degree. Like, I will have panic attacks about fucking nothing, because like my mind tends to, like, every little thing, anything that happens, my mind goes to the, like, it races through scenarios, and it's always the worst possible scenarios. Yeah, somebody just looks iffy to me, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna fucking die. Like, that's the, like, shit that runs through my head.
Like, you know? and like a panic attack, and like general just like anxiety is just like for me, like I would get like this pain across my chest.
Yep.
You know, it's like as if it was hot, or as if it was tight and stinging, and it would actually go down into my left arm.
I've had that. Yeah.
I went to.
Well, you start freaking out. You're like, "Oh my god, I'm having a heart attack!" Like shit, like that.
Right, exactly. I went to the emergency room because, I mean, pain left side of my chest mostly, in my left arm. I'm having a heart attack. I'm 28, 29. I'm having a heart attack. This is what, you know.
And,
so
and
I
this
go,
is,
and they put me on the thing, and they're like, "There's nothing wrong with your heart. You must be having a panic attack."
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Well, and that's something for anybody who's really dealt with like heavy anxiety. What it tends to do is, like my experience and people I've talked to, it makes your chest feel very heavy. Like it's almost like you're in water. Like it's difficult to breathe, like up, or like there are weights on your chest, and that tends to make your heart actually hurt a little bit because of the heavy feeling of your chest. And that can start to actually make your arm feel like, and then just like any little thing that can possibly divert. Because like I have had that same thing of like, oh my fucking god, I'm having a heart attack. Am I having a heart attack?
And you're like, I'm like in my case, I was like, I cannot be having a heart attack at 28 years old.
Yeah.
You know, and
I'm like,
I'm totally different. Because
Yeah,
I have
so it freaks you out. It makes it almost worse.
And it makes it worse because like you're freaking out. Like there's something that just slightly implies something. Your mind blows it out of proportion because that's how anxiety works. It constantly makes like minor fears, minor concerns feel like it's the worst possible situation, worst possible scenario that could possibly happen. It races things out of control. And that's the thing about anxiety is your mind races. It increases your heart rate. It makes your chest feel heavy. And because your heart rate is increasing, that's why you get those pains. You know, is because
or like check this one out. I'm 29 now. I'm going to be turning 30 this year. So I would think about it like, okay, I'm going to be turning 30.
I had no idea I was older than you, by the way. I'm 32. I had no idea. Sorry.
You're quite older than me. So I turned 30 this year as well. That's only at the end of the year.
Yeah, I'm at the end of October. Like
I turn 33 next month, surprisingly.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'm turning 30. Like, okay, that's all right. I'm okay with a milestone age like that. And then you start thinking like, okay, 30. Well, let's see. Most people only live to like 60 or 70. Am I halfway done with my life?
Yep.
Panic attack.
Yep.
Panic attack.
Yep.
And it's just like
I've had panic attacks. Like if I'm watching a TV show where somebody has cancer or somebody gets like a life-ending like situation, it sends me into panic mode because I'm like, oh my fucking god, what if this happens to me? What if I have cancer right now? What if I don't know if I have this? You know, I'm like
I started having an ulcer in like I guess it's like in the bottom of my esophagus, top of my stomach, and so I had started taking a like a I forget what it is. It's something that calms my stomach. It's like a really strong antacid.
Yeah.
I forget what it's called, but anyways. So I'm taking that, and but like before, like I was like, man, and they were going to test me for H. pylori and stuff like that. But I started looking into H. pylori and, looking into, I wonder what else could be. And it's like stomach cancer. I'm like, oh no, I got cancer. Panic attack. And it's just like, I would go down this rabbit hole of symptoms. And like, as I went down, like each time, like it just gets stronger and stronger.
Then hypochondria, how you call it exactly?
Yeah, I was having a lot of hypochondriac.
That's something that can that anxiety can do to you. It can make you a hypochondriac. Yeah. I'm somebody who has a lot of physical problems. I've been in situations where I've talked about it, where like if it didn't, if I hadn't finally been sent outside the VA, I probably would have ended up killing myself from being in so much pain. Like anytime I get a new pain in my body, I freak out. I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? And it could just be like I slept
like, do I have shoulder cancer? Like what?
Yeah.
Because I'm just a full-on idiot. So even when I almost break my fucking leg, I would still rock the fuck around without anything. My anxiety is mostly like going outside, talk to people, or even going to like a dentist. Then do things the first time. Then a lot of anxiety pops up.
Yeah, you sound like you have
ADD.
What's that, social anxiety.
It's even worse because when I even want to talk to like a complete stranger at the bus, and my ADD goes up and like thinks different scenarios. What the fuck is going to happen?
Yeah.
Like, if I say this, what will happen? What if this? And in the end, it's spiraled always to the negative one. So like, no, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it.
That's the thing. Like with anxiety, whether it's like a social anxiety, which it sounds like something you're dealing with too, or a generalized anxiety, which I like for me encompasses social anxiety too, which is a very big problem I deal with. When you have things like anxiety, typically, when your mind races through scenarios, your mind, the ones that you focus on are the worst ones. You think it doesn't really matter. Like for me, and this is a problem dealing, as I've talked to about on like previous live streams, for me, where, I've been trained to be hyper vigilant. So I go into like a public scenario. Yeah. But I was already that way, but like having that ingrained in my head every day, I go into a public scenario and it's just somebody can make the slightest move that just seems remotely suspicious to me, and my mind races through scenarios. I have an escape plan. I have an attack plan. I have all these plans in my head of like what to do if this person does this and this and this or this, I like my mind just races. So like sitting down in a restaurant, like I could not even be able to enjoy a meal or like talk to my family because I'm just like, I have to be concerned about this random guy who like is just sitting there with his wife having lunch, who I'm like, oh my God, he could possibly kill me, and it's like, like logically it makes no sense. Logically, it makes no sense. It never makes sense logically, but that's the problem with anxiety, is it's not logical. It's always emotional. It's always irrational.
Yeah, like for me, like I've always kind of believed that you're in a public location. It's always good to kind of like there's an exit right there, just in case.
I don't feel like looking for the exit is a bad
thing. Things can happen.
Yeah,
that's a possibility. But at like a Jason's Deli, no one's gonna rob the Jason's Deli. You're just fine.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
logically,
right? Yeah, but so it's always good to be like, all right, if something were to happen, I grab my daughter, we do this, but to have it consume your mind like that. That's something I think a lot of people don't quite understand. It's one thing to kind of be like, we're going to go in here. It's a movie theater. If something comes up, this is how we
and for me, movie theaters are especially triggering because of the problems that have happened in movie theaters.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you might, think of something like that, but at the same time, you have to be able to enjoy the movie. And whenever you have horrible anxiety, it's almost impossible to be able to just sit there and enjoy a movie because, you know, what if someone pulls out a gun and starts shooting like at, you know, those other shootings?
I've honestly thought about it because I've like for the longest time when I would go into movie theaters, I would sit close to the most obscure exit, like where whoever might be shooting.
I prefer was in the middle and the back.
Yeah, for me it would be I would. Jesus Christ! Sorry about that. Dryer alarm went off. No, but I would always think if there was going to be a shooter, which entrance or where would he most likely shoot from, and which exit would be the easiest to escape with? Because typically when I go to a movie, it's with my daughter, which kicks me into hyperdrive because like if it's my kids,
not just that, but you know if there's a fire or something, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's always good to be aware. Okay, that's an exit. But the thing is,
and I think looking for an exit is not a rational to know where the exits are. That's an important thing. Anybody should know that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, like those kind of things. Like, I think that's good. You know, and to be like, okay, if there's a suspicious looking person, you know, to kind of watch them. But you know, it's that, you know, that's the thing. Like whenever you have, like I have generalized anxiety disorder too, in addition to bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
You know,
that's what it sounds like. It sounds similar to mine. Yeah.
You know, it's almost like you can't enjoy this meal because, you know, you see you're at a sushi restaurant and the hibachi thing is going and there's some big flames. Well, what if the guy trips? What if flames go everywhere? The place starts burning down. It's this crazy thing where you just start.
It kicks you into high gear. It kicks your mind, and that's the thing with generalized anxiety.
You just want to sit there and enjoy your meal, you know. Now it's almost like you can't, you know.
Yeah, and now that we've I feel like we've laid some of this out. Something I do want to put out there because I don't want it just to be about the problems. I want it to also be about things you can do to help. Now, for me, the number one combatant I have against anxiety is creative outlets, and that can be, it can even just be me playing a video game that completely engages my mind, because you have to be super active. Like puzzle games really help because you have to constantly.
I got lost in Skyrim and Fallout 4.
Yeah, Skyrim is a big one for me. Skyrim does it for me really well. RPGs do it for me well because you always have to like really be engaged, especially if there's a good story too.
And it's a good way to kind of like escape, like if you don't want to be in the world that you're in, to be able to go to another one.
And that's the thing too, is I feel like, and this is something I've actually had a discussion with people about, is some of the things about going into video games is you have the ability to impact that world in ways you cannot do in the real world. Somebody attacks you, you can defeat that person easily most of the time, you know, or somebody, you know,
like, if it's a dragon or if it's a death claw.
Yeah, there's a fucking dragon that comes down and you go up and you slaughter the fucking dragon. You die, you reload, and you do it again, you know, like you can do things in this fantasy world that you can't do in the real world, and it presents you with problems, and you're able to overcome these problems.
What did they say about gaming can create a better puzzling skills, accuracy can improve, and there was something else.
There's a lot of improvement that game. Like I highly encourage my daughter gaming because it improves her hand-eye coordination. Her playing games like Minecraft has improved her creativity. It's improved a lot of stuff for her.
Yeah, and in some ways, like if you're doing like online gaming, like say like even if it's Call of Duty, there's you know a social aspect.
Yeah.
Not every match is full of buttholes.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you actually can talk and joke with people.
For me, I like playing Dying Light. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, that's a zombie game. It's like a first-person view zombie game. I love it because you can just go around with like a machete and just hack off zombies' heads. It's fucking amazing. You can get guns in the game, but they're like loud and they draw zombies to you, so you always want to use like melee weapons. But it's an incredibly fun game. You have like free run of the city. You can do like parkour stuff and like jump on like walls and stuff. It's an amazing game. Eventually, you can use like a grappling hook, and it's like you're fucking Batman, like flying, like grappling around everywhere. It's amazing. But, and here's something I do occasionally when I feel like I do need some social interaction during the day. You could log into that game where people can, you can do an online game, and it's your regular world, but other people can join in, and they will talk to you, and they will associate with you, and you interact with each other, and you like go through your world, your normal world, but you're having an actual legitimate person, you know, like you have to go help them, and then they come and help you, you know. I'm like, I feel like gaming,
you can either decide to fuck them over,
which I would hope you wouldn't do, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can.
You can if you want to, but like, that's the thing.
There's two kinds of people in the world.
Yeah.
I always slam the car alarms and let the fuck off.
But that's the thing, though.
I'm an asshole.
Modern gaming.
I'm sorry, that just cracked me up.
Modern gaming provides people with a social interaction that you don't actually get elsewhere. You do not have to face the person face to face. You can talk to them through like chat or through a voice thing or something like that. So it's not as like interpersonal. It's not as like I need to like, you know, like it can be less anxiety inducing because this interaction with this you have with this person doesn't actually matter. It doesn't impact the rest of your life, but you're actually having an interaction with a real legitimate person. And gaming can provide a thing like that, as well as also incorporating the things I talked about, where like, you know, you have a world that you actually have control of. And when I talk about things like using creativity to combat anxiety, it typically comes down to giving yourself control over something. If you're writing something, if you are drawing something, if you are, I had a person who their creative outlook, creative thing was dog grooming. They got to groom dogs, and they would do these creative different things with dogs. Now, that's something that person every day, every time they were grooming a dog, they had control over that situation.
Yeah, like
how that situation turned out.
Stuff.
Yeah, how that situation turned out relied on them. They had the control. They could make it how they wanted to make it. And that's something when it comes to things like anxiety. Anxiety makes you feel like you do not have control over a situation because your mind is racing. And then when you do things like you're writing or you're playing a game, or even if you're dog grooming or drawing, you know, you get to have control over something. And that feels like it gives something back to you that you don't typically get to have in your normal life, which is why I always heavily encourage people to engage in some kind of activity like that makes you feel like you have control over something. It gives you a sense of satisfaction that you're not going to get elsewhere in your life necessarily. It can help raise your self-esteem and raise your, like, just how you feel in your day. Like it can raise your, it's good for you. It's good for you.
Gaming helped a lot with my anger issues when I was a young kid.
No, what were you saying, man? Let's keep it on real quick.
When I was a young kid, I had a lot of anger issues. It's a bit of a family type disease. But gaming helped a lot with it to control it. What is weird because I played a lot of fighting games, and those make you get your aggression sometimes.
Yeah, you get your aggression out in fighting games. It's good for you.
Yeah.
I know, but sometimes when the game doesn't work, you can be more pissed off afterwards.
It can happen, yeah. Lonnie, go ahead.
I was gonna say another reason that is great to have a creative outlet of any kind, you know, because whenever you're out of control, you have, it's like a need to control. And if you can't do that with something, you can start to do it with someone. And, you know, I had issues with that, you know, where, you know, I was like very demanding of my wife for things, you know, why haven't you started cooking yet? You know, when are you getting off of work? Things like that. And I felt like, I don't do that anymore, but
yeah,
it was just like, whenever you don't have something to go to, like you can start to try to control other people because you can't control yourself, so you try to control someone else. And that's why it's very important to have a hobby, something, some books that you like, movies that you like watching, something.
Yeah, and that's a great point, is because typically as humans we want to feel like we have control over ourselves. If you, because of something like generalized anxiety disorder or like bipolar or PTSD or depression, if you feel like you're losing control over yourself, like you might start shifting that need to control over other people. So engaging in things that you can actually control. This is like, for me, writing is super important to me because I can create entire worlds in which I have utter, complete control over what happens. As a writer, it's very important.
I can make the stories, but I cannot write the stories. That is annoying.
Well, and that's the thing. And here's something I've even said, because I talked to somebody in my creativity versus anxiety group. They're like, I like writing, but I don't feel like I'm good. And I was like,
it doesn't matter.
Well, yeah. And I was like, if you are writing, if the act of writing makes you feel better, write. And when you're done, put it away. Don't read it. It doesn't matter what you actually created. What matters.
Well,
hold on, real quick, and then I'll let you go. But like, what matters in that situation is the feeling that it gives you while you're doing it, not what your result is. Whether or not what you write is good doesn't actually matter. It matters that it makes you feel better. It makes you feel more in control of your life. It subsides that anxiety or that depression that you have. It's the act of being creative that matters, not whether or not what you created is good. I would always heavily encourage people that feel like they're not good at writing. Actually, it's not the result that actually helps you. Madness, go ahead.
No, like I have the most problems is like if you were gonna write something, you must have an idea like how you're gonna write, almost like an idea of like an essay type thing, a script.
Yeah.
The problem is because especially with the idea of like essays, like every teacher explained it so radically different than the other ones, it kind of confused me into how to make it, and that is where I keep hitting the biggest block. Like I cannot go forward with it. I can describe the details to someone else who can actually write. So
here's
probably do it well, work better.
Here's some advice I got, and I do this frequently when I write. Don't stop writing. If you feel like you're stuck, keep writing. It doesn't matter if the words that you're writing make any sense, because sometimes I'll be writing and I'll get stuck and I'll just keep going. Like, I can't think of what I'm supposed to say right now. What am I supposed to do? And I'll just start talking to myself as I'm writing, like typing my thoughts, and it just keeps me going. And eventually I actually get back on track. I'm like, oh, hey, this is a good idea. Because I've actually had and if I ever post it, people would think I'm completely insane. But I've had literal conversations. I don't put spacing in between that. And I'll pose a thought of, what if we would do this? No, that's stupid. Maybe we could do this. No, that's dumb. And then, I'll actually have conversations with myself in writing, but the important part is that I keep going, not that I stop and I stress myself out about it. And I would say always, if you're writing, just keep writing. It doesn't matter if what you're writing makes any sense. It doesn't matter if what you're writing is good. It doesn't matter if what you're writing has actual, it doesn't matter if what you're writing, if anybody else or even you would read it later and be like,
oh, yeah, this is okay. Something of it, and
and that's good. That's good to want to make something of it, but don't feel like you have to. like let yourself have fun with it. If you can't have fun with it, it no longer becomes an outlet. It becomes a stressor.
That's why I want to do it with someone, because someone will be more smarter, in my opinion.
Oh, and that's something I do. Like, I like bouncing ideas off of people, like back and forth. That usually helps me in my right. I do that typically with my wife. Like, I'll have an idea and I just say like, "Hey, this is the idea I have," and sometimes she'll bounce back like, "Well, what about this instead?" Or sometimes she'll be like, "Yeah, that sounds really great," and or I have partners, other editors, or like the business manager for the comic book company I work with, where I'll throw out ideas and sometimes I'll bounce back. Like, I have this whole idea for this great story, and then my partner I usually go to Comic-Cons with is like, maybe you shouldn't do an origin story, save that for later. And I was like, no, I really want to do this origin story, and then I posted to the group of admins and they're like, you shouldn't do an origin story first, do the origin story later, start at the good parts, So I was like, yeah, you guys are right. So I started actually thinking about that, like bouncing out ideas off of people actually helps a lot. If you can get the best people, and you have to, here's the thing too, you have to set your pride aside, because you will hear things you don't want to hear. If you ever want to find a person to bounce your ideas off of, you are going to hear things you don't want to hear. And you start to have to set your pride aside of like, okay, you make a good point. Okay, this isn't right. Maybe I could change this. And that's a part of the thing, like me as an editor, I have to be that guy going to a person and being like, you need to tweak some things here. Change this. This doesn't work here. Maybe this line of dialogue isn't right. Hey, you made some spelling errors. You made some grammatical errors. You have to be the guy that comes in and says things like that.
Or you make an illogical thing that completely
like something that just doesn't make the story work.
In the storyline.
Yeah, something that doesn't make the story work.
I used to have a lot of problems with pride, and especially when presenting ideas like for like different kind of things like.
Well, and just real quick before you finish, Lonnie, I want to say, when you have an anxiety thing, it's legitimate to have an issue with pride to start with. It's something you do have to work on. So, keep going. Sorry.
I would just say that like I've gotten better like since taking medication and like working on it, like to where I wouldn't like present like an idea for anything that to where like say like I bounce it off my wife and she's just like, yeah, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like I've gone from well fuck you, and like I'm not talking to you about anything anymore to yeah, you're right.
Your wife's a smart person. I like her.
You're right.
No, I like your wife.
Which is why I feel that in addition to creative outlets and things, that don't be afraid of medicine.
Yes. This is something I always tell people when I have these discussions. My interactions with you should never replace therapy or potential medication.
Yes, absolutely.
Talk to your psychiatrist about medication. See your psychologist, therapist about like frequent just mental upkeep of like talking things out, getting a new position on things, because I cannot count how many times, like I see a psychiatrist and I see a therapist. People don't understand they're two different things. A psychiatrist typically will prescribe you medications. Your therapist or psychologist will typically just, you sit down and you talk about things. Now, if you're going to see, and you always should, if you really have a problem with it, see a therapist. I always say people, go to a therapist.
No, I think one of them is, one of the two is either more specialized for like people with autism as well. One is less, the other one is more.
That's the thing, is everybody, like for my wife, she's a therapist, but she's a marriage and family therapist. Therapists have their specific areas that they deal in. You have to find the right one for you, but you should go to see a therapist, and you have to listen to them. There are so many times I've seen my therapist I see now, and then the ones that the one I used to see in Indy that really pulled me from a dark place. And there's a thing that my current therapist does to me that she will know if I'm not being completely honest when she asks me a question and I give a response. She'll be like, Josh, you know, and I have to like, yeah, okay, you know, and then I have to like double back and be like, okay, here's my more honest answer, because, you know, sometimes I give like the like safe answer or something like that, the answer that doesn't make me have to really reflect upon myself. It's good to see a therapist. It's good to talk to somebody that like can call you out on things, or can like give you a whole different perspective on something. It's also if
but
you
there have to be a certain connection as well. You cannot go like, okay, this is the psychiatrist that is close by to me, so I just go to the person.
No, yeah, you got to find the best one for you. I've talked to plenty of therapists that have just been absolute horseshit.
Especially if
I go like, almost an hour out of my way.
Yeah,
out of town. Yeah. Because I don't feel the local ones can provide what I need.
Yeah, and you have to find the one that works best for you. I have talked to therapists.
That is what I want to say. It's like, especially the case with people, if you like autism and shit like that, the connection have to be there. Or else, by most of the people, you get nothing out.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And for me, like I have a therapist that my wife always refers to as Mr. Physical Metaphor, because they kept trying to do all these physical metaphors that just didn't work. And I would just be sitting there and looking at him like, you're an idiot. Like, this doesn't make any sense. This isn't helping me. Like, this is the guy who he asked me for a what's a situation that makes you feel anxious? And I was like, going to the grocery store makes me feel anxious. I don't like it. I feel like I'm going to miss something, or talking to people and interactions there. You know, something I typically do. I never go to the grocery store and not forget something. To this day, I just don't do it. Like, it always happens. And it becomes
I've never gone and came back with everything I needed.
Yeah, it's something that makes you feel anxious, you know? Like, you're just like, oh my fucking God.
The thing to remember is that is a completely normal thing.
Yes,
everybody
definitely. But here's the thing. I told this guy going to the grocery store makes me feel anxious. But the answer I gave him didn't lead him to the next point he already had in his mind. So he told me that wasn't right, that didn't work. And he kept trying to force me towards this other answer that helped him lead to the next point he already had in his mind. This is what bad therapists
do. Tell him that he needs to work on his Nobel Prize with somebody else.
I told him lots of things. Things he didn't like. This was
not everything that you're going to say is going to be profound and life-changing for somebody.
Well, and that's the thing is,
sometimes you just have to just let someone talk.
The answers you're going to give are the answers that feel right to you. If I was wrong and I felt like he was calling me out on it, I would have been more like, yeah, that made sense, because my current therapist will do that to me. But it was like my genuine, heartfelt response, and it didn't lead him to the next point he wanted to make, so he tried to fit me into this box. That's what a bad therapist does. This is years ago, by the way. But do not see those people.
I found like the best people. They just listened to you talk, and like you're just going off on random stuff, and they're just kind of there, just kind of listening, and they just kind of they go off of what you say and how to and then let you ramble on for another 20 minutes,
Yeah, most of my therapy sessions are me talking, not the other way around. What a good therapist will do is not tell you what to think or how to feel. They will let you get out what you need, and then they will challenge you and help you get to that area on your own. Yeah, if you cannot come to that conclusion on your own, if you cannot come to that conclusion on your own, it's not going to have the same impact as somebody just saying, this is how you need to be. So the right, just real quick, the right therapist is going to guide you, is going to challenge you, is going to help you get there on your own. And so you get that revelation of, oh my God, this is how I need to feel, or this is how I need to view this, or this is how I need to be more mindful of this, rather than just being like, this is exactly how you need to feel. You're going to be like, well, you're an asshole. You have no idea what you're talking about. Even if it's right, if they can't get you there, like you having that revelation, then it's just not going to work. So that's the thing I always tell people is, if the therapist you're seeing isn't helping you in that way, don't see that person. Go find somebody else, because you're not going to get what you need out of those sessions, and you're just wasting money at that point.
Yeah, and the one thing I do want to say for anyone that might be considering, like, well, okay, maybe I need to go to a doctor or anything like that. Go, like, the only reason I would say to go to a general practitioner doctor is to try to get a referral to a psychiatrist or a mental health clinic or something like that. Don't go to a doctor and say, you know, I kind of feel depressed sometimes, because they're just going to be like, okay, well, here, take this.
Yes. Don't be afraid. Yeah. Don't be afraid to go to a psychiatrist. Don't be afraid to take medication. I would say, if they're trying there are ways to go around it. I have been on doctors who every 2 weeks they were bouncing me to a different medication, and I felt like shit. I have a psychiatrist currently who is very conservative about medications. If she wants to try something else, she takes something away. She doesn't just keep adding on. Excuse me, sorry. I'm like really belchy tonight. I've been drinking.
Yeah, I'm on 4 or 5.
I'm only on 2 right now. I'm on escitalopram. I was on quetiapine. I'm almost weaned off of that because she wanted to try something new. And she's like, I don't want to give you something new unless we're taking something away. You know, like, I don't want to add more. I had been on like up to like 4 or 5 at the same time, you know, and it made me feel terrible. You have, like, that's the thing when it comes to the medications, and you as the patient have a responsibility to be informed about what you take. So your psychiatrist is
side effects. If you always support paper with the side effects, always read them.
Yes.
Even if the doctor had explained you before, still go read them. The doctor is still in person.
Here's what I do personally. I see more than one doctor that prescribes me medication. Now, one of the things I do is I talk to the pharmacist. I call the pharmacist. Never be afraid to talk to your pharmacist about possible crossovers with medications or what the side effects of medications are. I heavily research, even if I have it in my hand, I heavily research, what does this medication do? What are the side effects? How does it interact with other medicines before I take my first pill? Because I want to know this kind of stuff. I want to know if I might be hurting myself, or I want to know if that, there
are little pills that can make you go suddenly dead.
Yeah, well, it's just my thing is I don't want to get 2 weeks.
The fuck out.
I don't want to get 2
Why
weeks.
Would you take something like that?
Yeah, I don't want to get 2 weeks down the road and start feeling a certain way and be like, oh my God, what's happening? You know, and not know what it is. Now, here's the thing: is I started taking a medication, and one of the potential side effects was like so rare that I didn't even like know it was a side effect. I started feeling so restless, like my legs were restless. It wasn't just a physical restlessness; it was like a mental, like soul restlessness of like I constantly felt this just inner restlessness of like whatever I wasn't doing wasn't enough. I'm supposed to be doing something else.
So basically, you got ADHD.
It was just I can't even say because I don't have it, but it was
sound like it.
It was maddening. I would just walk constantly because like just sitting down made me feel like I was going to go insane. It was horrible. And then I go and I see my psychiatrist and I say, this is how I'm feeling. She's like, would you say it's a general like inner restlessness? I was like, yes. And she's like, yeah, that's a rare side effect of this medication. Let's take you off it immediately. But you know, even like researching it, what I feel like was well enough, I still miss that. You know, like there are things like you need to be informed about what you put into your body. That you have a responsibility as the patient who takes the medication to research stuff. I always say this, whether it's mental health, whether it's just a painkiller, whether it's fucking Tylenol, you have a responsibility to know what you're putting into your body, what kind of effects.
Doctor is still a human. They can make mistakes.
They can make mistakes. They can make mistakes. I had my doctor prescribe me because they're like, your triglycerides are too high. And then they gave me this other medication.
How high were they?
off the charts. I like it's like a genetic thing or something, because they were like, as high as your triglycerides are, there is no dietary reason it would be that high. They were like,
you don't remember the number?
No, not off the top of my head. It was just like fucking crazy high. Like I take
199.
Yeah, I think mine was in like the 900s. I want to say.
Yeah, and I got a second one. They had doubled. 1,926.
No, I have never tested it.
For me,
I just busted out laughing. I just could not believe that they could be that high.
It's insane. for me, I take gemfibrozil and fish oil to like help keep that stuff in check, like that, and my bad cholesterol in check. Now, here's the thing, though, is they were like, your triglycerides are high, and we're gonna put you on this medicine to help keep it in check. And then the asshole put me on this other medicine, had the side effect of raising my triglycerides.
I'm on one that can do that, like raise.
Yeah.
Like I known that they had doubled the dose since the first cholesterol test, and my triglycerides were doubled. And I was like, yo, what? I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. And they're like, either that was a bad test, or like, because this can raise, like, but we're talking like 20 points.
Yeah.
Not thousands of,
Yeah. But it sounds like you as a patient noticed that and took it upon yourself. That's like, here's the thing. A lot of people
they checked, but because they ordered their own lipid test, and actually that one came back perfect.
Yeah, that's crazy. But this is something that a lot of people forget, and I'm going to get this a sidetrack just for mental health, but this is in general as a patient. And this is a reason why I am against drug laws in general. I don't think there should be any drug that's outlawed. I think if you wanted to go down to the fucking pharmacy and pick up some oxycodone, you should be allowed to. Because I feel like the average person has a responsibility to be informed. It is up to you. I feel like if I am having an extreme amount of pain, I don't need to go to a doctor to know that I need a specific kind of medicine. I can do this research on my own. I can be like, okay, I need this for like this amount of time. When it feels better, I can come off of it. If I get addicted, that's on me. It's not on the fucking doctors. It's not on the medication. That's on me.
I mean, I'm accepting that risk. Like, okay, I'm hurt because I strained a muscle. You should be able to go do that.
Yeah.
If you can't figure out where the pain is coming from,
yes.
Yeah, I think you probably got to go to a doctor.
Well, and that's the thing too. I would suggest to anybody.
If you know yourself, you should be able to do that. Yeah. I believe the same thing.
Being willing to go down to the pharmacy and kill your pain is one thing. Being smart enough to go to a doctor to find out why that pain is there in the first place is a whole different thing. Being able to kill your pain without having to go to a doctor should be something you should have the right to do as a person. Because doctors can be assholes and morons and deny you actual and as somebody who has been there,
doctor. When I was talking about stress, he was like, "Oh, just take these pills and ignore everything what the fuck I said."
Just here's the thing: as somebody who's legitimately been there, where I've had pain medication denied to me because doctors are being assholes, there is no reason anybody should ever be denied having their pain relieved. That does not mean that you aren't trying to figure out the cause of the pain and wanting to fix the actual root of it. And I feel like and this is a little off track, but society in general needs to start having more self-responsibility of like, yes, I'm in pain. I can go to the pharmacy and relieve my pain, but I do need to figure out why I'm in pain if it continues, kind of thing. There are going to be people that go down there just to get fucking high, but can you really stop that? Are we stopping that? Like you can go down and get Imodium and get high if you want to take enough of it.
Wanna be hippie.
I don't know if I take a whole bunch of Imodium, but
no, I mean I can't say personally, but yes, there are.
I think you're talking about probably
50 and 300 Imodium, which the most you're supposed to take in a 24-hour period is 4. So I don't suggest this. But if you take apparently between 50 and 300 Imodium, you can get high as fuck. So I'm like,
disclaimer,
yes.
do not do that.
Do not do that. The maximum dose is 4 in a 24-hour period. Do not take 300 Imodium. But yeah, don't do it. But honestly, it's out. The information's out there because it is technically like an opiate. It just doesn't penetrate the blood-brain barrier. But I guess if you take enough of it, it can fuck you up. But I mean, like, you can go sniff fucking glue and get high. I mean, like, if people that want to get high are gonna get high, and there's probably a less dangerous way they can do that. Hey, fucking marijuana. You know, like,
yeah,
there are
amazing,
things that we do.
Whenever you go to self-checkout at a store, and like you go to buy something, and it's like, are you over 16 or over 18? I'm like,
right.
For paint?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just need to put a little coat of paint on something.
No, yeah.
But apparently, because people are getting high, you gotta.
No, I remember when in high school. I don't remember specifically what the medication was, but I do remember people called it Skittles because it was in this like Skittle shaped pill, and they were like a bright color, and like you'd go and you'd buy the package and you'd take the entire fucking package when you're only supposed to take like 1 or 2 an entire day. And they would take the entire package and it would make them, and people were doing this in school. I remember them. Like people having, like, pulling it out, popping all the pills out, and then fucking taking the whole thing, and then being high the rest of the day. Like, and it was just like shit. People would do that. And I'm like, these are teenagers. And then as a solution is to be like, you have to be over this age to do it, or you can't buy. And I was like, people are always gonna find a way to get high. This is a whole different discussion, but yeah.
Now I'm not suggesting that anyone start using anything or any tobacco or anything like that, but you will not fall asleep with this in your mouth.
No, you will not.
You will not fall asleep with that in your mouth.
I've never used that brand, but yes, I agree.
I just tried it. I heard it was actually good.
No,
but I think this one was kind of dry.
I only dipped for like 3 or 4 months. It was honestly a little bit too much for me, but it's just the thing. It's like, people are gonna get high anyway. The government shouldn't.
Yeah.
I did not want to bring politics into the night, but yes, that is a matter of fact. People always find ways to get high, and the more you restrict it, the more dangerous those ways of getting high will become. And I feel like that's a matter of fact of how many people huff paint and huff glue and shit like that, or take 300 Imodium.
In every single culture, whether they were continents apart, historically have figured out ways to get drunk and ways to get high. It's kind of a natural human
we
thing.
Get drunk. We get drunk. And it's not just something we do. It's something that's encouraged in some places.
Now, I would say, like, for me, I haven't drank anything since, I think, before last September, for sure.
I'm drinking right now, but yeah.
But that's a thing, a personal thing for me. Also, some of the medicines I'm on.
That makes sense.
They told me I could have, like, a beer or two, but no more than that, which would be the only thing I would drink anyways, even when I would drink, a small glass of whiskey or a beer. So, I can count on one hand the times I've been drunk. But, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of a natural thing,
Totally.
Not that the behavior should be encouraged, but
and that's just the thing. It was like, okay, here's the thing for me. And I was like, I don't want to get too political, but for me, marijuana, based off of my research and what it can and can't help with, has a potential to replace up to 5 of the medications that I'm currently on. With one thing that does not have the negative side effects and potential overdoses that all the other medications have.
You'll be able to get through your life while still having your liver at the end of it.
Yeah. And the government's like, no, that's bad. Let's not do that. that's just a whole fucking thing. Like, I mean, like, you know, if you have anxiety, and I don't think you should feel bad for like feeling like you do need to get high to get through the day. It sucks that you should not do unsafe things to get high, though.
Right, yeah. Any kind of treatment that helps you, even if it actually helps you, that is the key.
Exactly.
If you're self-medicating, like I know some people, whenever they refer to self-medicating, it's usually a destructive kind of thing.
Yes. Self-medicating can be very bad.
Yeah. But if there's something that actually helps you, you know,
why wouldn't you? You know?
Right. You know, and you know, the thing is, if there's something if what helps you is you get it from the doctor, or if what helps you get it from a guy on the street corner, then but the key is if it helps you.
Yes, I thoroughly believe how it should be in this country is that I get to go to my doctor to ask for advice rather than permission.
Right.
That's how I feel that things should be. Is that, and I would, as somebody who's not an idiot and is responsible, I would go to my doctor to ask for advice on medication rather than permission in an ideal society.
I didn't spend 12 years in school.
Yeah.
So I assume that the person that has knows more than me.
And that's what I come back to is you people as a patient, if you're a patient for anything, you have a personal responsibility. People who continuously go to the same therapist and are like, this person sucks, it's like, hey, guess what? Go to a different therapist. You know, people who go to the same psychiatrist over and over, and the psychiatrist is constantly fucking them up with shit they don't like, go to a different psychiatrist. It's, you know, like you are going to experience things that you don't like. You're going to experience medications you don't like. You're going to experience therapeutic methods you don't like. But if you don't like it, you do have the ability to move on. And it is your responsibility as the patient to be informed of that kind of stuff. And this is what I would want to stress. And to be honest, I can't like go on for like a 3-hour stream like I do usually on nights. So I don't want to have the stream go on too much longer. But if just for the first one, because I don't feel like we need to cover everything tonight, because I do want to make this a regular thing. But if I want to stress anything tonight, I would want to stress two things. One of them is if you're going to be a patient of a therapist, of a psychiatrist, of a psychologist, you have to have a certain level of responsibility. If you do not feel like you are being helped, or you feel like a medication you're on isn't working, you do have a responsibility to speak up about it, to try to find somebody who will help you instead. Switch doctors, switch therapists. You know, you have that responsibility as well as that ability. You know, and that's the thing. It's like
most cases.
I would say in most cases.
I still live in an organization, so I have more limited options in that field.
Yeah, and that kind of sucks when you have like socialized medicine, which is something I don't want to have to go into. But that's something we could talk about on a political stream. Yeah.
But to slightly take it into there, just ever so slightly.
Yeah.
I know that, okay, I'm an anarcho-capitalist and all that. And I assume that probably if anyone's watching this, they're probably somewhat libertarian or something like that.
Most of my audience is, yes.
Don't let pride or principle keep you away from getting some sort of Medicaid or something like that if you can get it, if it will help you.
That's an excellent point, Lonnie. I think do not let your
you have the principle not killing anyone. I would still keep that principle.
Yeah, if you need help, do what you need to do to get help. Because things work in a certain way in this country, and we don't necessarily have to agree with the way things work in this country, or in Madness's case, in a different country. We don't have to
coming in the weirdest places.
Well, we don't have to agree with the things that work, the way things work, but that, don't let your disagreements get in the way of actually getting the help you need.
Yeah,
do what you need to do. Be able to live your life in the best way you possibly can. If your principles are getting in the way of you actually getting the help that you need, do you really want to live your life that way? Like where you just can't live? And that's
right.
that's a
Like
shitty
I've
way to
seen
live.
some people like, oh, I would never accept food stamps, or I'd never get on Medicaid.
Yeah. Would you rather your family starve?
I'm not gonna let my daughter starve. Like if I'm not making it myself, I have to get help from somebody, whether it's friends or something. I have to put aside my pride, put aside my personal principles, because
sometimes asking help is okay.
I have to feed my family some kind of way. I have to take care of myself, take care of my family some kind of way.
Well, so, and that's what I say. For me, I have a pension compensation thing I get from the VA. I've talked about it before on live streams, and I don't.
You earned it.
Yeah, and I'm not like, well, I'm a libertarian. I don't think that's right, kind of thing. Because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be able to. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have gotten the surgery that I needed when I did. Not because the VA was so gracious, is because we had to fight it after the fact. But like I would, there are plenty of things that I've gone through. Like I've had shitty scenarios, but I've had great scenarios where I when I came from Wisconsin down to Indiana, I was in a very bad state. If it wasn't for the therapist I saw at the VA when I did, I would have probably just further delved into that. He brought me out of a horrific point in my life,
really, I kind of think that, that sometimes, like, you may think like, oh, I can't do that, I can't, because that's what, I don't know, whatever, poor people or whatever you think of people on welfare or whatever. I don't care, but sometimes humbling experiences like that are good for your mind too.
Yes, I would agree. And that's the thing, is I don't hold things against people that have to seek help to continue to live their life. It's understandable thing. Like, we live in a rough society right now. We live in a corporatist society that makes things hard to do certain things, or depending on where you live in the country, like in the world, it's not easy.
I want to build a better system, but
Same.
if you have to use the one that we have now, use it.
Yes, and I would agree. I think that's an excellent
right words.
I think that's an excellent point to drive home. Now I do have to get off here because I have a busy day tomorrow.
Say the stuff what happened with me when I was in deep depression.
Well, real quick, Menace. I'm going to give everybody a last word. I do want to say, like, I have a busy day tomorrow. I have another live stream I have to do tomorrow with Jason. So I do have to get to sleep tonight. I want to make sure I'm well rested, so I don't forget that. I'm going to give both of you guys a few minutes to kind of put out some last words. Madness, I'm going to let you go first. So go ahead for kind of your final wrap up. What do you got?
Yeah, but like 2 couple years ago, I was in a deep depression. Like, I didn't care if I would get hit by a car, train, or something like that. That is how deep shit I was. I was contemplating that jumping out windows and shit like that. And we did go to a doctor and to like the specialist, but in the end, what the insurance couldn't pay for all of that. I got only like 10, and that was not enough. But an extra psychiatrist would not get afford. I could not my own. So I just slipped further down.
Yeah.
Till I found the videos of Blair White who actually helped me out of it.
Yeah.
Like, not a psychiatrist, just a person.
Yeah.
And when I even went talk with her, it actually went with me a lot better. Even the smallest, stupidest things what we have talked, like the WhatsApp, the other thing, Snapchat chat.
Yeah.
like stupidest thing, like once it was like a new video comes out, and I was doing fitness that day, and I was like, oh, if the thing comes out during the fitness, I will be late watching it. I'm sorry. She was just nice enough to say, oh, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because maybe it can make me go to the table place because I will feel bad about it.
Mm-hmm.
And even especially when we had that Skype call, what we had, that helped me out. Even go out so much further out of things. Like it made me completely even realize, like, yeah, I need to move out of here. I need to go. And it was during that Skype call with her. And the weirdest is what I felt during even the Skype call. I cannot explain why, but I felt happiness that I felt when my younger brother was still alive. The same.
And no, that's great that you felt that.
That's why that's one thing that I really have agreed with her, that when I'm gonna move, it will be with Sheila so she can help me with things, because I feel like that if anyone could help me with things, it would be her. Would be probably the best, because it felt right.
As somebody who's done telecommunication, mental health, it's still very viable, I do believe.
No, but it's still weird for most people when I say stuff like that. Like, that you have like, oh, why specific than that person? Is there more blah blah? No, it's literally like, it felt just more right, but you cannot explain, because it felt good, it felt right, and
that's what's most important.
And then you can better climb out of things, and especially with me with autism. You need someone like that. You need something like that.
And that's good. That's good. That's
helped me with, but lately there's not much contact, and that is really worsening for me.
It can be rough, and that's some social interaction can help with that. So Lonnie, I'm going to give you, if you got any last points you want to make real quick, and then I'm probably going to wrap up the stream for tonight. And then I do want to try to make this a weekly thing. It'll be probably next week, Friday or Saturday. I will announce specifically when. But go ahead, Lonnie. If you got any final statements you want to wrap up, go.
Okay. I want to kind of build upon what Madden was saying, that whoever that person is that helps you, definitely talk to them, don't be afraid to reach out to them, because we all need someone like that. That's another thing, is just not, I know, like, fear is one of the things that is present in a lot of people that have a mental illness, that fear of what happens if I do this? What happens if I don't do this? Well, sometimes you just have to just take that leap.
Yep.
And just, you might not know what's going to happen, but it'll never get better if you don't take the first step.
Yes.
That's the thing. Like, don't be afraid of seeking treatment or seeking help. Like,
do what you need to do.
With medicine, right? Like with medicine doesn't erase your problem.
Nope.
Like that's one thing that I learned. It doesn't erase your problem. What it does is it might help your mind get to the point where you can do it yourself.
Yes.
And that's one thing you have to know, that you're the one who's got to ease your anxiety. You're the one that's got to raise yourself out of depression.
Yes, it's that personal responsibility I was talking about.
Yeah. The medicine can help you get in the right frame of mind, but unless you start taking steps, finding ways to do it yourself with the help of medicine, all you're going to do is just be taking pills all the time. Now, you may have to take those pills the rest of your life. Yeah. That is okay. That is perfectly okay.
Yeah. Don't let the stigma impact you.
Right. Right. If that's what you need, that is perfectly okay. I have bipolar disorder. I'm going to have it for the rest of my life. I'm going to need to take medication for it.
Well, and just to jump off what you said real quick, that's a misunderstanding a lot of people have when it comes to mental health issues, is that they go to do these things or they take medication to get rid of it. No, these things don't just go away. You can't cure it. It's about coping. Yeah, it's about coping and figuring out how to live with it day to day.
You know, and really, like especially like with bipolar disorder, like for me, this is just my own personal thing. If a cure came out tomorrow, I wouldn't take it. I would not take it. It is a part of who I am. Before, whenever it was more manageable, before I was treated, and you know, I didn't really know I had it, but in some ways it helped me. In some ways it hurt me. In many ways it hurt me, in fact. But there were things that I did that I wouldn't have done if I didn't have if I wasn't manic at the time.
Yeah.
There are things that I didn't do because I was depressed that if I would have done them, I don't know. I don't know where I'd be right now.
It's your character now. So it's who you are.
Yeah, there's things that, you know, it's an illness, but it doesn't always have to be this anchor. It doesn't always have to be this, I don't really know how to describe it, but.
No, I understand what you're saying. It's part of who you are. It can be, you can let it be who you are and like lead to the points in your life that you got.
Don't embrace it to the point where you just let it run wild, whatever your illness is.
Don't let it define you, but it can be a part of you.
Right. Yes. Yeah. It's okay to be ADHD. It's okay to be bipolar. It's okay to be sociopathic. Those things are okay. You know. So don't.
It's okay to have gender dysphoria. It's okay to have autism. Blah blah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anything. Yeah. It happens. You know. It's just who you are. It doesn't mean that there's. You know. Yeah. I guess you could say there's something wrong with you, but it doesn't mean like you're a wrong person. You know. Like.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing. So, the treatment is supposed to help you live a more of a normal life. That's the one thing that you have to remember. But you're the one that's got to bring yourself to whatever you think normal is supposed to be. And the medicine's not going to do it for you.
And I feel like that comes back around to the points I've been driving home today of like personal responsibility is very, very important. Lonnie, did that wrap it up for you, or?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
For tonight, okay. So I feel like Madness and Lonnie, thank you so much.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
I have been thinking of somebody suggested the GoFundMe, but the thing is, because I probably will then move where Blair is, then I still need contact with her because he doesn't respond much lately. So I cannot set the thing up yet.
Yeah,
that frustrates me as well. Not that I would be pissed because I understand it, but it still frustrates me.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's just things, you know.
You cannot go to kind of.
That's the thing. Like when you have these mental health issues, you know, like life, you kind of get to a point where you accept life's not going to be perfect for you. You're going to have, regardless of if therapy helps you, or if medication helps you in conjunction with therapy and the things. You know, things are going to be frustrating. You're going to have hard times.
Yeah, I know. But this is what I want to move away from.
Yeah, and I understand. Okay, well, I really appreciate both of you guys, especially your final statements were great. Brought up some great points. I do want to, for multiple reasons, I want to kind of draw it to a close now because I don't want to get too in depth on everything, so we do leave some stuff open for future streams. I appreciate you so much, both of you, coming on tonight. You had some amazing points.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, definitely. I hope you can come on some of the future streams. I will make sure it's probably going to be Friday nights or Saturday nights. It really depends on my schedule, like what is going on with my kids.
I feel this is something important, not only for me, you know, to be able to get out and talk, but
yes,
if I happen to say something, like I know I'm a goofball, but if I happen to say something that helps someone,
yes,
I want to be able to say it.
That's my, and that's my, like, that kind of is a summation of like how I've just been in general, like with like my life of like my struggles I've dealt with. If my story can help somebody or my perspective can help somebody, I wanted to help somebody. And that's why I do what I do with support groups and stuff. But yeah, so if I feel like if there's one thing I would like to drive home tonight, it is remember that you do have a personal responsibility. You have to be the one to make sure you find somebody that helps you, that the medication you're on does help you. You know, like, you have some personal responsibility. Don't feel like who you are investing with is just going to take care of your problems for you. You have that responsibility as a person. You know, don't let your stuff define you, but don't feel like somebody's just going to take care of that stuff for you. You do have to figure it out. It sucks you were dealt a shitty hand that you have these issues, but you know, with anybody else and any problem they deal with in their life, you do have a personal responsibility. So make sure you remember that. I will make sure, Jason, I would absolutely love to have you on the streams in the future. It'd be great. I know you deal with some of your own things, so that would be awesome. So from the chat, just in case anybody was wondering why I threw that out there.
Jason.
Yeah, Jason.
I can't see the chat, so
Jason, my brother Jason. He's
okay.
in the chat. Yeah. So I'd love to have him on a future stream. Me and him are going to be on tomorrow.
I would say, have someone like Eve or Maya or even
Blair, Eve or Maya. I've talked to Maya about it. She's a little iffy, but Eve said she'd come on sometime. But yeah, anybody who's watching now,
Jimmy did for stuff, because like
I want to do.
We can at best the talk about the technical issues behind it, but this personal stuff it has to come.
I want to do a whole episode on gender dysphoria if I can, and anybody who's watching or anybody who knows somebody, tell them, you know, at Sarcasm_Liberty on Twitter. If you know, I would love to have you on. If you're watching and you want to be on the stream sometime, I'm totally open for anybody coming on the stream, this specific stream. I will be posting the specific times for it. Remember, tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, me and Jason are going to be streaming. Hopefully, we have a very special guest coming on tomorrow. Hopefully, he's still going to be able to. If not, we have a whole backup topic to go to. So. Thank you guys so much for joining, and then I will make sure you're following me on Twitter so you can keep up to date when the next mental health stream will be. I'm going to try to keep them on Fridays or Saturdays, and that just depends on what my schedule is. But usually it'll be around this time. Some of the future ones, hopefully my wife is going to be able to come on too and actually talk. So if you're a person that's actually like really going through something, you know, somebody that could actually probably provide you with some good insight. So yeah, that's all I had. Lonnie and Madness, I really appreciate you joining, and Jason, for keeping the chat up. And good night, everyone.
There you go.
Bye.